U.S. officials stand accused of hiding the true scale of their war losses after Iran's direct hit on a base in Jordan, raising questions over whether casualty figures and damage assessments are being carefully managed to avoid a domestic political backlash. Reports indicate that Tehran's strikes on the Jordan base slammed into prefabricated housing units where American troops lived, turning the very structures meant to shelter them into scenes of devastation and underscoring how vulnerable these container barracks can be. On camera, Iranian ballistic missiles are seen arcing down onto Muwaffaq Salti Air Base and similar sites, with some projectiles reportedly striking while American soldiers were sleeping, a chilling reminder of how quickly a quiet night can turn into a lethal barrage. For many, this may be the image that haunts President Trump for years to come, as troop losses mount and critics argue that his decisions put those soldiers in harm's way without adequate protection or a clear path to ending the war. A deadly Iranian attack on a Jordanian base reportedly struck prefabricated housing units where U.S. personnel were living, turning rows of modular shelters into twisted wreckage and highlighting how exposed these temporary structures are in a high-intensity war zone. One of the Iranian ballistic missiles hit the Muwaffaq Salti Air Base on July 17, slamming into the U.S.-linked facility during a wider barrage and underscoring Tehran's willingness to target key hubs supporting American operations in the region. U.S. troops lived and slept at the Jordan Air Base, and 3 of them were killed in the recent attacks, a reminder that the strike was not just an attack on infrastructure but a deadly blow against the people manning America's forward positions. These details were reported by Iran International on July 21, citing the Wall Street Journal's account of the incident, which together describe how the attack unfolded and how it fit into a broader pattern of Iranian strikes on U.S. positions. A satellite image shared by RT News purportedly showed the aftermath of the strike, with scorched ground, damaged structures, and blast patterns that visually conveyed the scale of destruction more starkly than words alone. The attack on Muwaffaq Salti Air Base was reportedly one of 3 separate missile strikes on the same facility within a 24-hour window, illustrating how Iran tried to hammer the base repeatedly to overwhelm defenses and maximize damage. Nearly 100 U.S. service members have been injured in Iranian strikes on bases across the Middle East, reflecting the cumulative toll of repeated missile and drone barrages even when many incoming threats are intercepted. Meanwhile, the United States and Iran continue to trade fire as Tehran claimed it had stopped 2 tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, intertwining the battlefield clash with a simmering maritime confrontation in one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. IRGC claimed its forces targeted 2 oil tankers using the southern Strait of Hormuz route, according to Iran's IRNA news agency. The IRGC claimed the tankers were struck after ignoring repeated warnings, with explosions reportedly occurring aboard both vessels. Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed for as long as U.S. military operations continued in the region. The IRGC warned that no oil, gas, or chemical fertilizer shipments would be allowed to leave the Gulf while the conflict persisted. Separately, the UK Maritime Trade Operations said the crew of a tanker abandoned ship after an unknown projectile struck the vessel off the coast of Oman. The incident occurred near Lima, where the crew evacuated safely in a lifeboat after the vessel was hit, according to the UK MTO. The ship's security officer reported the impact but was unable to identify the type or origin of the projectile, the UK MTO added. The tanker incident emerged shortly after the IRGC claimed that 2 commercial vessels had been struck in the Strait of Hormuz.
I think CENTCOM has laid it out exactly what the objectives are. The only reason why the U.S. is conducting strikes is against assets of Iran that are being used to attack global commercial shipping. The Straits of Hormuz are international waterway, and they continue to launch against ships in that international waterway. Other countries should join us in this effort, but the United States is involved not just in protecting those ships, but in targeting the places that they use to launch these missiles and drones. So that's what you're seeing, that's what the objective of this mission, and that's what it continues to be. And we continue on a daily basis very successfully to degrade Iran's ability to target and ships. You hear about the ships that have been struck, you don't hear about the ones that have been defended and the ones they haven't been able to launch against. But as long as Iran insists on controlling an international waterway, we're going to have to respond to that.
What's the mistake for diplomatic off-ramp still? Do you believe that
I think we're always open to diplomacy. It has to be real. It has to be a deal that they're willing to live by. Look, Iran a week ago was supposed to put out a statement saying that the Straits of Hormuz would be open, that they would no longer attack shipping. And instead of doing that, they attacked 3 ships. I think that was last Friday or Saturday. So, I mean, their behavior has to change in order for ours to change.
the MOU
to get
dead?
a new MOU?
What?
Is the MOU dead, or are we just back at full-scale war?
Well, they're not complying with it. I mean, the straits are supposed to be open, free of tolls, free of attack, free of all the things they're doing against these ships. So you can't have an MOU that's alive if they're violating the terms of it. What I will say is that the United States always remains open to a diplomatic solution. We've tried multiple times with Iran, and we'll continue to try. If that door opens, we'll be happy to see it open. But and they continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate, but their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
What was your reaction to the president saying he wanted to charge a 20% toll on cargo in the Strait?
Yeah, but I think what the president was saying basically is that the United States, okay, every night is taking on the burden of protecting global shipping. Virtually none of those vessels are flagged U.S. Almost none of those vessels are delivering cargo or fuel to the United States. So we are basically providing the service of protecting these ships on behalf of the world, and we're the only ones doing anything about it. So what the president is basically raising the point is, at some point, the countries and the nations benefiting from the shipping through the straits should be able to step forward and provide at least financial assistance for the cost of providing this very valuable service. That's what the president was alluding to. Now, he pointed out after the fact as well that some of the countries who are shipping product through the straits are investing hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States, and he'll credit that towards them as far as this effort. But I do think the world is coming to a point now where it's clear that Iran, at least some people in Iran, want to control the straits and hold that as leverage against the world. And the world has to decide whether or not it's going to allow an international waterway to be under the control of a country like this, which is completely illegal, unlawful, and unacceptable. The United States will do and continue to do what it needs to protect global shipping, but other countries need to begin to step up and provide, whether it's hardware or finances, to help carry that burden. It is not the United States' job to protect shipping for the entire planet forever.
Can you tell us about your meeting with the Lebanese president today?
Very positive this morning. You know, I think, as I said, the future of Lebanon, the best thing that could happen for Lebanon is to have a government, a legitimate government, his government, that controls the country. The biggest problem Lebanon has is that you have a political movement that also has an armed militia that is not just well armed and trained and equipped and financed by Iran, but they use that to conduct terrorism, particularly against northern Israel. And that as long as that problem exists, Lebanon will never truly be at peace. And so how do you defeat Hezbollah? How do you replace Hezbollah? You defeat and replace them with a government that is strong enough to be the sole source of arms in the country. And so we lost people in Jordan after there was a strike. A missile got through. We shot down almost all the missiles. One leaked through, hit the wrong place, and tragically, and it's heartbreaking. And our hearts go out to these families. These are heroes that pay the ultimate price.